All right, class, settle down. Settle down. There's an amateur theater group rehearsing Stomp in my skull today. So I'm gonna put a video on, close my eyes, and do my best to imagine none of us are here.
As Johann Wolfgang von Goethe once said, "If you see a great master, you will always find that he used what was good in his predecessors, and that it was this which made him great." I thought this quote applied to today's film until I was assured by the last line of the movie that any similarity it bears on anything was a 1 in a million accident. In the following essay, we will be exploring the film Strike Commando, directed by Italian schlock virtuoso Bruno Mattei and released, like all great films, over several years, under filmmaker aliases and using a couple different titles. Strike Commando stars inimitable chunkhead Reb Brown as Sergeant Michael Ransom. After a mission to blow up a Viet Cong base leaves Ransom stranded in war-torn Vietnam, he has to shoot his way to a helicopter rescue and protect the Vietnamese villagers and French drunkard who saved his life. While totally failing that second part, Ransom gets away with the help of his superior officer and #1 superfan, Major Harriman, who goes against the orders of Radek, an Air Force colonel inexplicably in charge of everyone. Ransom brings Radek proof that Soviet Union officers are working with the Viet Cong, so Radek sends Ransom back behind enemy lines with a camera to get more proof. Finding the entire village slaughtered at the hands of Russian villain Chakota, Ransom is quickly captured and tortured. When forced to broadcast a message of defeat to American troops, Ransom grips the microphone, screams a message of defiance, then grabs the hot Russian babe and bolts. The viewer is then treated to a ballet of bullet play and some of the finest use of grenades ever put to celluloid, as Ransom single-handedly kills the entire VC Army, Navy, Chakota again, and then confronts the traitorous Colonel Radek by shooting up his office with an M60, bullet belt wrapped around his bulging bicep. And if you think this at all sounds like Rambo First Blood Part 2, which came out the year earlier, then you haven't been paying attention. That was an accident. Class, I give you Strike Commando. I guess I'll take the role. So let's first, Greg Hanson.
Yes. Yeah, I'm awake.
Jamie Kennedy.
Here.
Casey Regan, present. And Josh Roth.
Sorry, what? I was killing Chakota.
Chakota!
You think that's going to be the only time I yell Dakota during the recording of this? You are mistaken.
Okay, so where does one start with Strike Commando?
I'd just like to say, I come from the very unique perspective of having seen no Rambo movies ever in my life. So truly, Strike Commando, I guess, is my Rambo now.
Oh, God.
It's the first one. This was the first blood for Jamie.
Yeah, this was my first blood.
I think you can. I think you can miss it. I think because you really do get it in this movie. Like this movie, the plot of First Blood Part 2 begins. Like when Ransom gets sent back to Vietnam with the camera, the 135mm camera. That is
the standard issue, your standard issue Strike Commando camera.
Yep.
Buy all our playsets and toys.
It just steals the plot from First Blood Part 2.
Okay.
Everything that happened before is its own movie. Like the Strike Commando.
It really is.
It really is. Like the first scene is a more interesting movie than the rest of the movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, there's the crossbow guy.
The crossbow guy. I wish crossbow guy had lived, because killing a guy playing mahjong with a crossbow is like, I wrote it down on my death highlights for this movie.
Oh, that crossbow is so OP.
It's the perfect spy weapon, right? Silent, deadly,
Limited ammo.
Right. Slow to reload. The mahjong competitor gets killed by just getting like pushed over the table by the other guy, implying to me super strength. So we had the super strong guy, we had crossbow guy, and then we got Ransom.
Yeah.
Was Ransom the one that threw the knife?
Unclear. It
my
was very
favorite
dark.
kill. Of
He
that
does
opening
continue
scene.
to do that throughout the rest of the movie.
Right, so that's got to be his move.
Yeah, that seems like, I think that's a fair assumption.
I would like to point out that the knife in the back screen direction is thrown left to right, and it hits right to left.
That happens a couple of times. There are a couple punches that land in the opposite direction.
Who needs screen direction?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's on purpose. I think it's meant to sell us the message that war is hell. It's confusing.
You never know where your knife is going to land or come from.
Exactly.
Can someone tell me what the mission was? Because it seemed like, from how many explosives went off, it seemed like that was like pre-wired. Because this commander, he did not care when he blew up this thing, whether they were there or not. Like, why did they need to go in? What were they doing?
Did they place explosives?
I
did
don't
not
know.
see them place explosives.
They placed one. They put like one thing of plastic in one area.
Okay.
Oh, and the whole building went up like Chernobyl. Got it. Okay.
Well, not the whole building, the whole friggin' compound. Everything blew up, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, did I miss something here? Because they came in ostensibly the way that they say it, the
Depot at all costs, remember? At all costs.
at any cost. So I guess they were trying to take the depot. But ostensibly, if they didn't care about any of the people or the things there, why didn't they just bomb it? Like, why send in the strike commandos to wire it up? I mean, like, we know because Radek is a bad guy, but like, in the context, if you were any other officer who has to also green light these types of things, it doesn't just go to one person.
Colonel, I would like to present my plan for the destruction of this compound. Oh, yes, sir. I see here you want to send in the strike commandos? Yes, I would like to send in all of our strike commandos. Every single one.
Yeah, all three of them.
All three of them.
All three. Why don't we just bomb it with our planes that we have many of and many bombs?
The reason is because our command officers will be so close. We're going to send the command to be on a hill overlooking the mission.
My apologies. I approve this mission fully.
I am unclear as to who set up the rest of the explosives. In everywhere. No less than 15 buildings exploded in this mission.
Some of them 3 times.
Oh, the triple cuts!
Yeah, I think the answer to that question of who set up the explosives is people in another movie, because I learned all those explosive shots were reused explosion shots from other Bruno Mattei movies.
No way.
He blows up
I'm
that
surprised.
building in Robo War as well.
That's beautiful.
He's the great. He's the king.
At all costs.
I am unfamiliar with this man's work,
We'll catch you up.
but I am familiar with the star's work. I would like to point out that the star, Reb Brown, who I initially read as Red Brown and was very excited, is also from my personal favorite Mystery Science Theater episode, Space Mutiny, as Blast Hard Cheese,
Slab bulkhead. Fridge large meats.
Punt speed chunk.
Butch deadlift.
Big McLarge Huge himself.
Yeah, he's truly a legend.
And the most boring action star I've maybe ever watched.
Wow.
Them's fighting words.
How dare you?
I know.
need you to take that back immediately.
Like, there's just...
He's your Rambo.
he is my Rambo.
He's
But
He's your ransom boat.
it's just you look at him and he kind of just doesn't do anything for you. Like,
Wow.
he's just like,
I think you should speak for yourself here.
I don't know. He screams a lot.
he does scream a
Yeah,
lot. He's very
He's
good
got
at
a great
screaming.
scream.
Yep.
The power of Red Brown is not necessarily physical, though he is an imposing hunk of meat. He has a scream that cuts through all other audio waves. Like,
Yes, it does.
there's a
He's
lot
the
of
Black Canary of action movies.
There's like a lot of dubbing in this movie, which I imagine is to account for language barrier and things like that, as with most B movies. But I think when they overdub Red Brown, it's because his like octave reached such that the like recordist couldn't capture it. They needed to like get it later because it like doesn't matter what explosion's going off. It like his scream hits somewhere in the back of my skull.
It reverberates. It's like a shot from a gun, point blank, right into your temple. So, a bit of history of Italian cinema. They did not shoot sync sound until the mid 90s.
Oh.
That blew
Ever.
my mind when I first
What
heard
is
that.
that? Yep.
Anything.
Every single movie, right?
They do not shoot sync sound. That's a thing that is absurdly new to the Italian film industry.
Guys, is every single of these Italian beat movies a bad lip read?
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. It's just so much work.
Welcome to the club, guys. There's a lot. There's a whole wasteland of shit for you
my
guys
God.
now. I feel like we've opened the door.
Yeah, you've changed my whole life.
And they used to shoot, especially B movies. They would cast actors who were famous in different countries, or who were from different countries. Obviously, Red Brown is American.
Obviously.
A lot of people in this are American, like Christopher Connolly, I believe is American or at least British. But
The other American.
they would often have Spanish actors and they'd have German actors, like Klaus Kinski would be in stuff like this. And everyone would always speak in their native language. They would say their own lines in whatever language they spoke. So if you were a Spanish speaker, you would have lines in Spanish. You would be overdubbed into English for the international market. But it means that actors on set do not necessarily understand what the other person is saying.
That's interesting. It's that the actor who played Jacoda was actually from the video game Final Fight.
What?
That's where he was born.
Oh my god.
And he jumped into our world much like action.
Oh, the last
Last
action.
Action Hero.
Last action
Okay.
hero. Thank you.
Very similar. Except it happened when someone spilled a creatine shake on one of the Final Fight cabinets. That's how Jacoda came into our world. But so first mission happens. We lose the other members of Strike Command.
It is called Strike Commando, not Strike Commando. It's like you should have seen it coming quick.
Exactly.
Point taken.
So we lose all the other
Yep,
members of Strike Commandos. And
Crossbow guy, we barely knew you.
it's the beginning where we see that this Radek guy, he doesn't. Is he on our side? Whose side is he? Like
No. Minute one, he's like
Let's
we're gonna
blow
blow it up a minute early. Like in the first minute, it's like that guy's bad. That guy's definitely
Yep.
bad. There's no question about it. Like
I know. I just wrote down this guy is really anxious to kill all his men and is just a dick.
right. They were so excited to blow up their men that the guy on the explosive plunger is like ready to push it before they've hooked up the explosives. Like there's nothing to explode yet.
Did anybody else love the slide whistle sound
Yes.
effect that was used for the plunger?
When I kill a lot of people, I like some whimsy to be behind it.
Yeah, you gotta find the fun where you can in wartime.
I don't know about you guys. I have pages of unintelligible notes going on here.
Oh, mine are flawless.
Yeah. I mean, I did write Jakota in big words, and that takes up about half my page, so.
That's fair.
I sort of went the other way, where at a certain point, and that certain point was when he is screaming Chakotay and shooting at the empty village, my notes really fall off. Because I was just a little boy staring at a movie, telling it he loves it. Ransom is blown into a river and then is found by a small boy, the relationship with which is the heart and soul of the movie. As far as
I wrote that down. That really, this movie is about the love between a man and a Vietnamese young boy. Which,
and the theme park that neither of them have ever been to.
That man has not been to Disney World in his damn
no
life.
one who made this movie has been to Disneyland.
Father Francois told me about a wonderful place where Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck live.
Disneyland. Yeah, popcorn, ice cream growing on trees. A kid can get all the ice cream and candy he wants. Anything you want can be granted to you by the genie from the magic lamp. I'm here to serve you, little master. Command that I will obey.
the fact that was reprised when Lau was dying killed me.
Well, it killed Lau.
Tell me about the rabbits, George. Tell me about the rabbits.
He meets this Vietnamese village that was based around a French mission started by Father Francois.
We never meet?
We never meet. No, he's
never
dead.
meet. No, Father Francois is an early victim of Chakotay, who we never meet. I believe his last name was Baguette. I believe his full name was Francois Eiffel Tower Baguette.
Do we think that the phrase white savior comes from this movie? Because rarely does a movie just come out and call a character the white savior, but this one does.
I found something kind of interesting. Offensive, yes, but also interesting in a village that was built around a French religious imperial mission. All in whiteface, saying the American is here, we're saved.
The moment when he woke up screaming in a hut.
He's American!
American! American! American! And all of the villagers are standing there going, America! America! Like they were about to watch the Kumite. They're like, America! America! For so long.
Yeah.
For minutes.
I want to talk about that wake-up moment because I think that it was the greatest editing choice because he wakes up, he screams, a man screams, a boy screams, a monkey screams, and then he screams and falls out. It was the greatest bit of comedy, film editing comedy.
Yeah.
I thought it was legitimately funny.
Yeah.
It was genuinely very funny, and I thought it was brilliant until it was pointed out to me that is a shot-for-shot stolen from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. When he wakes up. Yeah, when Max wakes up with the kids in the kid village, he screams, a kid screams, a monkey screams, he falls out and is hanging by his legs.
So you can't give them any credit for anything.
Wow. All right.
Oh my God.
rescind my compliment.
But so he wakes up in this village, surrounded by Vietnamese civilians in whiteface who are chanting for the American, and then they push a Viet Cong soldier in front of him, ask him to slaughter this Viet Cong soldier. He refuses. They kill him and are immediately bummed out by him being
their savior.
He says no, I don't want to kill a prisoner of war, and they're like, well, you're lame then. Forget about you.
We'll do it ourselves.
You can't choose your white savior. Hollywood chooses it for you, guys.
Absolutely. Is there a death of a white savior message in this movie? No.
No.
Okay.
He also can save literally no one. There is no one in this movie that he is responsible for saving the life of. No one.
Huh. Yeah.
Ransom decides to take 20 of the villagers with him to rescue.
He's trying.
He's trying.
He's like the movie. He's just trying. He's doing his best, guys.
Which is my favorite cut in the movie, because I don't know if it's the worst cut or the best cut I've ever seen, where they're standing on the bridge and it's slowly zooming in on him when he says, the old and sick are gonna have to stay behind. Then it zooms out and they're in a completely different place and he's finishing up the sentence. And I was like, this is confusing, and I love it.
This movie wastes
No time.
No time.
I specifically wanted to talk about that with you, Jamie, as an editor, because it was like that. It opens at least two scenes that way.
Yeah.
It opens at least two scenes on a close-up that seems like it's just a reverse shot from the previous scene, but then zooms out to realize you're in a different physical place. New scene is beginning, and I found that to be like brilliant.
Yeah, no, it caught me off guard. It was their take, I think, on the Citizen Kane Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year cut, you know? Like, it was like, we're just gonna bridge through a whole bunch of time and space this way.
Seemingly, what they are skipping is like 10 minutes to walk to the other part of the
Where
village.
he then says the same thing he was already saying before. So, like, they're like, I don't know, maybe you could have waited, or...
But he takes these 20 villagers with him to get to what he thinks will be rescue. And then some of them get murked.
You, scout ahead.
And don't get lost. Damn. They'll get all of us now.
Why is he the one in charge of leading them to begin with? The guy who does not live here is suddenly the one in charge of being like, this way! Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely this way.
Because he's American, Greg. Come on.
He floated there. He has no concept of how to traverse this on land.
Wait! Jamie, that's such a good point. I totally forgot. He's been unconscious floating the river.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
He has no idea how to get back.
he doesn't know where he is or where he's going. And he's the one just being like, come on, and just pushing people and pulling people and shit.
The villagers seem to do plenty fine.
Yeah.
Like, Lau and the cold-blooded lady who shoots the prisoner, like, they kick ass. Lau kills a guy with a slingshot.
That's on my death count highlights. Also, Frenchmen yelling "Bonjour" followed by a grenade.
Oh.
Bonjour.
Let's talk about the one-liners in this
Yes.
movie, because there's some fucking doozies.
Ransom has
Yeah.
more death catchphrases than McCavity and Katz, and yes, I'm throwing that out as a pander.
At one point he comes out of the water and he grabs the guy and he says cuckoo.
What's the best one?
He uses the phrase shut up twice as a death catchphrase. The last time, of course, being
Right.
when he kills Dakota by stuffing a grenade in his metal jaw.
The greatest death scene
The
maybe in
greatest.
the history of cinema.
But I think my favorite line before a death was as he's walking through the jungle, a guy like pops up out of the bush and he goes, ah, shit! And he like bats him with a rifle and goes, you scared the shit out of me.
The most realistic part of the movie where I was like, maybe that wasn't even scripted.
Yeah, Red Brown just like hit that Filipino extra with a gun. It's like, you scared the shit out of me.
Shit out of me.
Ransom returns to the village, finding all the villagers slain, and also very evenly distributed across the floor.
And also could not afford a lot of blood. I wrote down very distastefully, this looks like Jonestown when he gets back. Like, that's how they're set up.
No, it did, because I wrote down they wanted even distribution, so they cooked evenly on all sides. Because it was like there was just a total carpet of dead bodies.
Yeah.
For $20 and a couple of squibs. Yeah, sure.
Oh, they ran out of those squibs real fast.
You're right. Any like nobility he tries fails. Everyone he tries to protect dies.
Yeah.
Either through inaction or like throughout the movie action trying to save people. They are killed. It leading to at the end he like has to shed all nobility and then just like straight up murk an office block in Manila.
Oh.
So many international treaties broken.
Which we should devote the next 20 minutes of this to talking about the death of Lau.
Oh boy.
American. Tell me about Disneyland.
There's cotton candy.
mountains of it. And chocolate milk and maltons. And there's a genie, a magic genie. And he can't wait to grant your wishes.
But there's not till 1994, man.
That's
There's no
way
genie
before
in
his time.
Disneyland until
They do.
1994.
And then
Now, Lao, being a small Vietnamese boy in an agricultural village, is forgiven for not knowing anything about Disneyland. But really, by naming Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse, he knows significantly more than Ransom.
I don't think Ransom knows what
He does
Disneyland
not know.
is.
He does not know.
No idea. His biggest pitches are there's cotton candy and popcorn in the trees, a well he continues to go back to.
No mention of rides. No mention of any further characters. No mention of general location.
He doesn't even talk about meeting Mickey
Like,
Mouse or
no.
Donald Duck,
No.
the people who live there.
No.
No, but there is a genie who's just waiting to grant all your wishes.
Can't wait. Genie can't wait
is
to grant all your
anticipate.
wishes.
He's anxious
Ooh,
to
can't
grant
wait,
your
those
wishes.
kids.
He's also rewriting the lore of genies
Yeah, in
within
contrast
this.
to the concept of genies who are imprisoned
Yeah.
and only grant you 3.
Nah.
I do love, Jamie, that you pointed out that Aladdin was still about 8 to 9 years from being made. So that means this movie stole from movies that didn't even exist yet.
It's not.
Bruno Mattei was moving between the ether. He was stealing creativity from all time.
Also, they killed Lao last. Somehow that mattered.
Killed Lao last. His bones were so little. What does he say about
Brittle? I don't know.
Chakotay says something about, like, I liked that boy. His bones were so brittle or
Yeah.
something. Like.
Yeah.
And then his amazing yell of fury with the echo.
Yeah.
Did you notice that wonderful echo on his yell after the kid
Oh,
dies?
yeah. Yeah, every time he yells, there's like a dude off screen that's just like, reverb. It's a reverb machine.
So then we're treated to our first screamed Jakota.
Yep.
Right. Am I the only one who did not know the name of anyone really before this? He just said he screams Jakota, and then he proceeds to scream Jakota no less than 200 to 300 times. And I did not know that was anyone in the movie at that point.
Lao did tell him with his dying breath that the big white man's name was Jakota.
He did?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he
Oh,
said.
wow, you
he's
caught that.
yeah, he's like big white man and woman, and his name was Jakota, and then like he dies, and that was
Oh,
like the
okay.
last thing he says, and so that's how he latches on to yelling Jakota at
Yeah.
that point.
Which I then think is the next 4 pages of dialogue.
Yes.
It's just him screaming Jakota into the ether while blowing away anything that he can find.
The next screamed Jakota we get is we get a sequence of Ransom following a squad of Viet Cong soldiers and silently pulling one down to question him. And instead of silently questioning him, he goes, "Bring me to Jakota!" At which point, the rest of the squad should be like, huh?
They literally say,
Major, this Ransom, is he really that good? There's no one who can touch him in your whole damned army.
and he is the worst person at sneaking around in the jungle, guerrilla warfare, as he screams. My favorite probably in the whole thing, and I had to rewind it because I did not understand what he said the first time, which was after he's on the boats or towards the end, and he does the Rambo 2 thing. It's literally the exact same scene where the guy comes over the edge and he has him choked, and he grabs the knife and he sticks it through his midsection. It's literally shot for shot. It is the same scene as the scene in Rambo 2. And then as the boat is about to explode and he jumps overboard and he just goes, "Our Father who art in heaven!" As he jumps into the water, and I was like, what What did you just say? Because I literally, he says it's so fast. Why would you even put a line here?
Was that scripted? Was it direction? Was it a choice?
Was it a dub choice? I don't know. You can't actually see him say it. This might have just been
No, it was definitely a dub choice. Yeah, this was just we were we need more. We gotta get more dialogue in this thing.
Right. I mean, yeah, according to Greg, they're all dub choices. I think they only named the Russian character Jakoda because it matched all the shots they had of Reb Brown screaming. They just could fill his ahs, ohs, and ahs. I would say that yes, cinephiles may point out ways in which this movie is of a lesser quality than Rambo: First Blood Part 2.
How dare you? Again, Jamie can't say that.
I can't.
Yeah.
All I can say, I did write down, he copied the Rambo machine gun move, because I know that enough from just cultural immersion.
Right.
And that's all I can prove, that this is a ripoff.
Oh, I only recognized it from UHF.
Oh, maybe that's what I recognized it from.
I miss this era of gunplay in movies, where something happened in the 90s where everyone wanted to do gun kata and hold their guns exactly like the operators do and stuff like that. I miss the just waving the gun madly.
Like a magic wand.
Right. And then having a line of people synchronized dive into water that. It's so beautiful. I miss it.
Well, it was at the end of the 80s, it was John Woo changed action movies, right? So it was that's when everyone was oh, okay, it's you just have a bevy of very precise guns and all these different parts of your trench coat that you pull out, and that definitely made everything way cleaner and hipper. And yeah, I mean, action movies for a long time was something that you did not have to have a lot of talent to make.
Precision.
Concept of space.
Let's be real. Reb Brown is a great actor from the neck down. Everything that he did, he's acting in his fucking pecs.
Yep.
He's acting in his quads.
He loses his shirt to prove it.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily.
Oh, and then finds it again.
I
counted the number of times he takes his shirt off and then has it on in the next scene. It's 4.
Yeah.
It's 4.
No, but Greg's right. John Woo ruined action movies.
Yeah. Official take.
By reminding audiences that guns work better when you point them.
Speaking, can I talk about sweet montages and fast forward a little bit?
Torture montage?
To the torture montage?
Oh, you're getting way ahead of yourself with that torture montage.
I'm fast forwarding. This is
that torture montage, man.
Well, it's a torture montage that very quickly becomes a workout montage. They're making him harder to kill later. He's just doing some Olympic lifts and stuff at a certain point.
It's where they took some Rocky. They were like, okay, let's mix some First Blood with some Rocky.
But we don't have any stairs.
No, well, we have a hill. We have a hill of greenery, and we're gonna hit you with bamboo while you walk up it. Also, points for lo-fi filmmaking. Electric torture is genius because all it takes is good miming. You don't need to do anything.
It takes miming.
It takes miming.
But point taken. The sound. It's just the sound.
If there's one thing Reb Brown does great, and it's everything. But specifically within that is he mugs like a mug. Man knows how to sell getting electrocuted. Yeah. He knows how to sell my best friend, my best little boy friend just died, and I'm mad about it. What I wanted to bring up was the second half of this movie is a lot of the plot elements and even just fight scenes and set pieces are lifted from First Blood Part 2. But I would say that it does the thing and then elevates the thing. Like Greg just mentioned, in First Blood, Rambo's getting choked, and then he takes his knife out and sticks the guy with the knife. He doesn't then jump off the boat, recite a little of the Lord's Prayer, and the boat explodes. This is what Strike Commando is doing bigger and better. Yes, at the end of First Blood Part 2, Rambo walks into Charles Napier's office with an M60 and shoots up the office, he doesn't then kill everyone working in the office. This is what Strike Commando's doing. It's on a higher level. It's doing a little bit more.
Like, this movie is extra, and it's proud of it.
Right, and I think you gotta do that when you're making a ripoff movie. You gotta, you take the elements, then you just give them a little bit. You give them a little nudge.
Yep.
You give them a little nudge
We're
more.
all just doing this to have fun, you know?
And I genuinely did. The beginning of the movie, it felt a bit of a drag, but, once the movie really kicked in, it just got more and more fun.
Yeah.
By the time he's being tortured... and next to Martin Boomer,
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard,
Zoinks Ransom!
His perfect foil in both he's skinny, he's got a very weak voice, he's a coward,
he hates being tortured.
He hates being tortured as opposed to Ransom, who frickin' loves it.
He's having a great time. This is Club Med for him.
And then also, to the antithesis of everyone else in the movie, Martin Boomer making some very prescient points about America's involvement in the Vietnamese conflict.
Yeah.
We know he's a coward because he isn't about a forever war in Vietnam.
Well, we know he's a coward because he literally calls himself Martin the Coward Boomer.
This movie is great because it's just they're like, here's the plot. They just say it. You don't it doesn't get tied up in anything. You just know what's happening at any point. And if you don't know what's happening, then it's not important.
Yep.
Right. And that is for Jamie, Rambo First Blood Part 2, one of the big moments in that movie is Rambo, while a prisoner is given a chance to speak over a radio, and he's being told to sell out or just haul off the rescue effort for him and other POWs and show that the torture has broken him. And then Rambo then tells Murdoch, who is that movie's Reddick, that he's coming for you. He knows you sold him out, and then he just beats up the people who's keeping him prisoner, which is awesome when he's like, Murdoch, I'm coming for you, Murdoch.
I can't believe these all have parallels. I honestly was giving this movie a lot of credit.
No, right. That scene is legitimately shot for shot from the point when he takes the microphone and then he hits the guys behind him, and then there's a guy whom he punches into a wall who he then electrocutes. Is all in. It's all
totally
in
First Blood Part 2, but again, where this movie elevates it is Rambo uses that moment to communicate, I'm not giving up, whereas Ransom gives a call to the troops. It's stay at it, boys. We're gonna win this one.
My name is Michael Ransom. I know the war isn't going very well right now.
And so that's the reason I'm telling you guys to hang in there and fight like hell and show these bastards who the hell we are.
I know the war isn't going well right now.
I know
the understatement of the
I'm loving this pirate radio where their whole idea is to demoralize the troops. That's their big thing. Is they're
gonna brainwash him. It's gonna hurt morale. Was what Reddick said.
We see entire squads of troops listening to it. Obviously, they've got great listenership.
You mean newsreel footage?
News on parade. Ransom on parade.
You mean Getty Images?
Well, he's a famous soldier. The whole reason Raddick wants to betray him and get him to be the voice of quit Vietnam radio is because he's a famous soldier.
WQYT.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
He's a famous soldier, which I don't know, to me just means war criminal, right?
Yeah.
War criminal. The soldier that all other soldiers know about
Yeah.
is the war criminal.
For sure.
Right?
Definitely.
Well, that's the worst. That's the one you don't want. That's like sending Jane Fonda out and being like, all right, go for it. We haven't forgotten Jane.
March on Washington all you want.
Yeah. We would have won that thing if it weren't for damn hot she looked in that tank. This movie, it gets so much more fun as it gets going, and I'm just like remembering the last maybe half hour includes him like escaping with the hot Russian babe,
getting in a camo onesie, realizing the full length of betrayal by Radek, Russian babe killed. Ransom runs away for no reason, hunts down a boat, and blows it up. Swims back to shore, finds his shirt.
Yep.
Then gets in a fist fight with Dakota that is awesome.
Come on, get up and see what you can do with your fists.
That is like really well shot, really funny. Like there
Poorly
are points.
edited.
How dare you?
But like poorly edited. Not. I mean, you will know better than me. But in my opinion, poorly edited. Yes, in that it announces the edits less than it is. It is definitely like there are parts where it's confusing, but it's like fun. Like they run at each other and you think they're gonna tackle each other or nothing, but then they just like butt heads.
Heads, yes.
There are so many punches that cut to like a close-up reaction that is like jarring, but also like silly in a way that is a different flavor of silly than the rest of the movie have been.
I want to talk about how many endings this movie has. he kills Dakota. I think that's the end of the movie, right? And then like
where the waterfall appears out of nowhere. Don't forget.
Yeah. Then he
punches him to a waterfall.
We see Dakota fall. Camera back up to Ransom, and he goes, "Yeah!"
and then we have 2 or 3 more endings of the movie. Like
this is the Return of the King.
Yeah.
That's a moment of pure cinema where there is no doubt in my mind that after Dakota goes off the waterfall very suddenly, they're having a very regular fight. One punch.
Nowhere near a waterfall.
The ragdoll of him is thrown off the side. He screams, and then we cut out of the scene. They're like, "All right, great, let's go." The fact that he was still alive shouldn't have surprised me, but it totally did. But it got me. And the only thing that has changed is his teeth, which presumes that he fell teeth first into the rocks below.
I mean, it explains how he survived. As any orthodontist will tell you, if you land teeth first off falling off a waterfall,
like you're fine,
totally
but you're gonna lose all your teeth.
Yeah, strongest bones in the human body. The skull's airbag, they call teeth. Then he shoots up an office, steals a Rambo scene, shoots up an office.
An emptied office, yeah.
When they go to Manila at the end, I thought that this was a setup for a sequel, and then that's when I realized I had no idea how much more movie there was. I was like, there could be 4 more hours of this. I don't know. I don't have a clear sense of where this is going, or how insane and how much cocaine Bruno Mattei was on at this point in his career. So it's like, I was like, I might have just been watching a half hour of a movie.
I did absolutely have the same experience where I dissociated at a certain point in this movie and was like, I have no idea how long I've been watching. I know this is like a 90-minute movie. I have no sense of where in 90 minutes I am.
Yeah,
you just lose yourself.
At any point. Yep. I was like, there were so many points where I was just like, okay, this is probably end of the first act. I was like, nope, that's not true. Like, there's so many. He goes back and forth and back and here. Like, the movie is jet setting all over the place.
Well, I genuinely think because, Rambo First Blood Part 2, it ends with Rambo threatens Murdoch, and then that's the end of the movie because Murdoch's he's a bad guy, but he's a more complicated character than Radek. And I wonder if there wasn't the ending that was he shoots up the office and then Major Herman's he's a traitor. He's gone AWOL, he got away, ransom. And then they're like,
that's what I thought.
Actually, we need more than that. So let's cut to today. Cut forward to today.
But when is today? Is today... is the fall of Saigon was 1975, I think I wrote down, because I Googled it. So today, which is when the movie was made, was 1987. So is it 12 years from when Saigon fell, or is it like 3 months? When is today?
He's just been waiting. He's just been fucking waiting for it.
Chronology doesn't matter.
Really, what is this movie if not just a series of other scenes from other movies jumbled up and put into a classic Italian? Just like they're like, oh, this scene was good. Oh, I saw this in a trailer, and just throw it in the blender, and then wherever it lands, they put it in a shotgun and shoot it. That's how the script is written.
Right, because he gets off the plane. Major Harriman is there. Red Brown, Ransom says, "What's new?" And Major Harriman goes, "Not here."
I think that was Red Brown actually showing up for the shoot. I think that is...
Right.
First day of shooting.
Yeah.
We get a, way too long scene in a cockfighting arena.
Oh, man. I love that they're going to go catch up somewhere, and they go to the loudest other place?
Yeah, well, they can't be talking too much about these unsolicited missions. The war's over, Ransom. You can't just be killing a traitor.
Right.
So many international treaties.
Can we rewind just slightly to talk about how we go from fist fight with an insane and super quick ending to then a long drawn out scene about the bureaucracy inherent in the American war system? like we get a lot of pontificating right at the end, and I was like, this is the end of the movie here. We're learning the lesson, and then it kept going, and I was like, how? What else are we doing?
And then it's like he shoots up this whole office. He kills just everyone. An office where everyone has a M16 under their desk.
Yeah. Was the secretary the female Viet Cong that you saw throughout the movie?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because she said, I recognized him, and then he said his name was Ransom.
Well, again, like you said, Jamie, it takes place today.
Right.
So
It's been
12 years have passed.
I wish that Bruno Mattei had done what he has sometimes done, which is just throw shit into the future. So today isn't even today. Today is 2011.
Oh my god.
Everyone has cyborg arms and shit.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know if you guys were on the same page when he goes to kill Radek at the end, and he's just going through this office it's the Terminator. This is the police. Yeah. And it is amazing. That's not just a ripoff of one movie, it's a ripoff of every movie. It's it's Rambo 2, it's Commando, it's Rocky 4, it's fucking Terminator. They're just get them all in there, baby. If we need to retitle it, we've got reason. If they could have put aliens in this, and it still would have been yeah, sure, of course.
Are we sure that Colonel KGB wasn't an alien?
He yelled at a cobra, and that cobra ran away.
He lost a staring contest with the cobra.
He had emotional connection for a moment with the cobra. He stares at that cobra for a moment where my note that I wrote down was, what is the relationship between these two? Because before he shouts at him, they connect in a way where that cobra made Dakota think about everything Dakota had done. That cobra saw him moments before choke an old French drunk out of his sandals to death. He kills everybody. He kills Radek with the grenade launcher. He just blows the person up with the grenade launcher. And a lesser movie would have ended there.
It didn't.
It does, and then it does amplify. Grenade launcher death is great. Grenade shoved into metallic mouth is better.
Oh, that was one of the best quips. Shut up! And then he shoves the grenade in his jaws rip-off mouth, full of metal teeth.
These Russian dentists make some pretty good dentures.
Oh, also, Amerikanski, which I'm pretty sure ski is Polish. I don't think that is a Russian terminology. And at some point they say, how do you say goodbye in Russian? Auf Wiedersehen.
It was confusing. Amerikansky, though, brought me so much joy every time he said it.
Yeah. Amerikansky.
Was Dakota just
yeah, he's Yakov Smirnoff.
just Red Scare?
Yeah.
He's just Red Scare, right?
Hey,
From
Amerikansky. You coming looking for me?
No, he calls him Amerikansky even after a grenade's been shoved in his mouth, it's been blown up. His spirit yells Amerikansky as it ascends out of his body.
Where? And then that's not to leave off the final line of the movie where Red Brown, seemingly as a joke, reads the legal notice for the end of the movie, which is fascinating. And like a moment where it was like, did they just watch like The Holy Mountain 2 days before this? And they were like, oh, what if we like pan out and you see the film crew also? like how was that the thing that you were just like, we have to tie it all up in one snappy ending? Any
similarity between persons living or dead, especially dead, is purely accidental. Yeah. Very accidental. Like 1 in a million, maybe.
No, because it's not even reading it. It's being sarcastic about it.
Yeah.
Especially dead.
Especially dead.
Before I watched this movie, I had a sense like the making of a Rambo First Blood Part 2 ripoff would be a sort of like craven exercise of like money grabbing when something was popular. But that moment like makes it badass. That moment like makes it like so cool when they're like any similarities is like totally by accident, like 1 in a million accident. Like it's a middle finger to anyone who'd be like, this is a lame ripoff movie. It's so sick. It's like such a great way to end your like obviously plagiarized movie.
Any similarities between this or any other cinematic film is complete bullshit.
There was like such a feeling of joy. Like it was a pretty sick ending. I left feeling like really awesome at the end of this movie.
I believe the word is American exceptionalism.
Wait, don't you mean
Amerikansky exceptionalism?
I can't beat that.
No, try.
So, Greg, how does this rip-off report card work? Like, what's the...
Okay, so what I was thinking about doing is I highlighted 3 people, and I was going to just talk about a little bit more of their filmography and then grade them.
No, that sounds great.
Ooh, it's the rip-off report card, rip-off report card.
Okay, we'll do a real thing.
Welcome to the Video High Rip-Off Report Card, presented to you by The Gap. Yes, The Gap. The gap between your teeth. The director was credited as Vincent Dawn, which is an alias for Bruno Mattei. Vincent Dawn was a pseudonym that was made due to the success of Dawn of the Dead. He started off his career with a Dawn of the Dead ripoff called Hell of the Living Dead. Which, if you've seen it, basically it's like a virus turns people into the undead, and then people have to go into the jungle for some reason and figure it out. There is no less than 30 minutes of jungle B-roll. There are so many monkeys in that fucking movie. It's insane. The fact that there wasn't more B-roll in this movie was legitimately surprising, even though there was a good 10 minutes of various B-rolls of helicopters, of explosions, of helicopters.
Yeah. Of troops just walking along and listening to radios. Yep.
But pretty seamless. Like, I can't imagine photography of this movie included a helicopter getting anywhere more than like 5 feet off the ground. But the way it sort of cut between the helicopter B-roll, I thought was actually pretty good.
So later he did a Mad Max ripoff, Rats: The Night of Terror, a movie that successfully fuses post-apocalyptic insanity with punks in the future being terrorized by rats for some reason. Totally unnecessary, like Marauder timeline with a whole universe of people that lived underground, and then there's the less fortunate people who live on the surface, and it makes no sense, and it has the worst dialogue maybe in cinematic history.
You're really selling this.
Yeah.
No, I agree with Greg. Rats, Night of Terror is one of the best movies ever made.
He did an Aliens ripoff called Shocking Dark, which is surprising because for a long time its title was Terminator 2.
What?
Made before Terminator 2 Judgment Day, this successfully had marketed itself as Terminator 2, even though it has nothing to do with Terminator and is an Aliens movie.
That's shameless, and I love it.
Its other titles were also Alien 2 and Alienators.
Oh, Alienators
I wish it had
is
kept
my
with
favorite.
Alienators.
He put Predator, Rambo, and RoboCop together to make Robo War, which is literally commandos are sent into the jungle. They are then suddenly hunted by an alien that is also a cyborg.
Also starring Reb Brown.
Also starring Reb
Okay,
Brown.
yeah, we need to.
And also featuring footage of that building exploding at the beginning of this movie.
Oh, we're gonna do a retrospective now.
Yeah, we have to.
So for all of these reasons, Bruno Mattei gets an A+.
Yeah! Absolutely. Well done.
So we will now move on to the writer. Also, again, anglicized name Clyde Anderson is an alias for Claudio Fagrasso.
Oh, why would you give up that name?
Who I think you and most of our listeners know from Troll 2.
Oh.
What?
Oh, shoot.
He wrote and directed Troll 2.
They're gonna eat him. And then they're going to eat me. Oh my God!
Yeah, guy loves a good yell. Claudio Fagrasso wrote or / co-wrote the majority of Bruno Mattei's work that he made, including all of the ones I mentioned. Beyond that, he also did his own Mad Max ripoff called Interzone. He also did a Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff, kind of, called Night Killer, which is a slasher movie where a guy terrorizes Virginia Beach with a Freddy Krueger-esque mask on, and it's clearly a mask, and it is referenced as a mask. And he did his own Cujo ripoff called Monster Dog.
Oh, this man
featuring
is
Alice
a
Cooper.
Writing genius.
For these contributions to society, Claudio Fagrasso gets an A+.
Absolutely.
And to move on to Reb Brown, our beef chunk hero.
Fridge, large meat.
But hard pick.
Punch, rock groin.
Buck, plank chest.
Stump, junkman.
Rip, steak face.
Slate, slab rock.
Crud, bone meal.
Bob Johnson. Oh, wait.
Unsurprisingly, Reb Brown continued to be in Rambo / Commando ripoffs almost exclusively. He made a career out of making movies that look and feel just like this. He also made Mercenary Fighters, White Ghost, where he plays a commando living in Vietnam who has to get taken out for some reason. He made a movie with Shannon Tweed called The Firing Line. And then he made two that are sort of Rambo ripoffs merged with Lethal Weapon and a bit of Bloodsport / Kickboxer called Cage and Cage 2, both with Lou Ferrigno.
What? With the Hulk himself?
I've got so much to do later.
And he did, of course, the Star Wars ripoff, Space Mutant. Reb Brown, we salute you for the fact that you did really just do one genre for your entire career. You get some points deducted, but we can give you a solid B+.
Yeah.
That was the ripoff report card. Ripoff report card.
We'll get the band club together to write us a real thing. No,
that's it.
All right. So, anybody have any final lessons to take away from Strike Commando?
I think it's that ripoffs can be amazing.
Oh, that's all we're gonna be. We're gonna be plumbing the depths here at Video High. We cannot afford the real thing.
I think, like Jamie can attest, I always say the worst crime a bad movie can commit is being boring, right? This is the complete opposite of that. I will like it hits the ground running, and then it just hits the nitrous, and then it just keeps going until it launches into the stratosphere. My final thoughts just say Rocky IV meets Rambo, time and space have no meaning, and Reb Brown loves to yell.
Great final thoughts.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful final thoughts. I mean, as I said when we opened this, I think this will, from now on, be my Rambo, mainly because I don't know if I'll ever get around to actually watching real Rambo, so this is gonna live in my memory forever. As you were saying, Casey, it does not skimp on the fun or the explosives, to the point where throughout this movie I had some fears about the safety of everyone on set, but it still looked great. Super fun.
Yeah, I think a lesson I take away from this movie is I have two. One, it's amazing that like the Rambo movies after First Blood Part 2 are a movie series seemingly primarily about a white guy brutalizing Southeastern Asians. Gave so much work to that independent, trashy Southeast Asian film industry. It's like a fascinating thing. Like these movies, there were whole careers started, and like so many people ended. Also, other lesson from this movie specifically: never do with one grenade what you can do with 12.
Yep.
This movie is a cocaine-laden spaghetti fried jungle shoot 'em up that I can't like the
snaps.
In a similar vein, there are entire careers made out of movies that are just the boring parts of this movie. Mm-hmm. There are whole directors. I'm looking at you, Antonio Margheriti.
Oh, shit.
We're coming for you. We're coming.
Oh, my God. Hot takes in the first episode.
Yeah, that like I've watched whole movies that really just do what this movie does in 15 to 20 minutes. And the fact that this movie is somehow 90 of total and sheer insanity, it really is a testament to Bruno Mattei being the unsung hero of the Italian cinema, probably above Fellini if we're being honest with ourselves. He's funnier than Fellini.
Fellini couldn't make a 90-minute movie.
90 minutes, as I've said before, is my love language.
So, before the takes get any hotter, that'll do it for today's lesson here at Video High. On behalf of my fellow classmates, Greg Hanson, Josh Roth, and Jamie Kennedy, and myself, Casey Regan, I would like to thank Seth Applebaum of Ghost Funk Orchestra and Gabrielle Tessitore of the band Scout Harris for our awesome theme music, Justin Ferraro of the band The Rizzos for all our other music and for sound mixing, Ann Shearer for our logo, and of course our teacher, Mr. Philip Marlowe. Thank you all so very much. Our next episode will be 1992's Kung Fu Rascals, directed by Steve Wang. So consider that your required watching, and then find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts to join the class. Well, okay, guys, I feel like that's Strike Commando. We know, yeah, all right, I think we know how to end this episode.
Jacoda!
The rest of Strike Command demands justice!